One foolish politician can spell devastation for the entire world, and we are witnessing this currently. On the 2nd of April, 2025, Donald Trump announced his presidential tariffs. He imposed tariffs on more than 90 countries, and in his typical dramatic way he said,
"Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right."
In his opinion, the rest of the world have been looting America for a long time. America, the richest country in the world, was being ripped off by the rest of the world.
But now it's our turn to do the ripping.
Once he announced this, share markets all over the world crashed. Within a week, trillions of dollars were lost, and the world is in danger of a global recession.
The world teeters on the edge of a potential global recession.
Monday the 7th of April was the worst day for the stock market. Whether in Hong Kong or Taiwan, China or Japan, Germany or the UK, the US or our India, the stock market fell drastically everywhere. The strange and childish way that things have been handled here can be seen from this example. On the 2nd of April, Donald Trump imposed a 34% tariff on China. 2 days later, in response to this, China imposed 34% tariffs on America. Trump did not like this, so he told China to withdraw their newly imposed tariffs. If they don't, he said that he will impose another 50%.
If that tariff isn't removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on.
But China is adamant on its stance. And on the 9th of April, America imposes a further 50% tariff on China. And in response to this, China imposes another 50% tariff on America. And so these two countries are engaged in a game of tit-for-tat. This trade war is hidden from no one. Let's begin with the basics. What is a tariff? A tariff is a type of tax. This tax is imposed on goods imported from abroad. For example, if you buy an iPhone in India, then a 15% import tax is imposed on it by the Indian government. Import tax is a type of tariff. Things like clothes attract a 20 to 25% import duty. Import duty is also a type of tariff. Donald Trump did not consult anyone and imposed tariffs on 90 countries out of nowhere. That too with such an attitude, practically saying that he'd do whatever he wants to.
We're gonna have to go through a little tough love maybe, but they all understand. They're ripping us off and they understood it.
Obviously, many countries weren't happy about this, and they started imposing retaliatory tariffs. On his part, Donald Trump said that he imposed tariffs to reduce America's trade deficit. That's why, on the day he imposed tariffs, he named it the Liberation Day. Now if you want to ask what is a trade deficit, let's take the example of two countries. One is America, and the other is China. Assume that the total goods exported by America to China is worth $1 billion, and the total goods exported to China is worth $2 billion. So here, expenses minus revenue, America's trade deficit is at $1 billion. The difference between export and import. Now, being in a trade deficit isn't inherently wrong. Roughly speaking, it is said that trade deficit is bad because your country depends a lot on another country. But if your country's economy is strong, and your country receives a large amount of foreign investments, and you don't depend on another country for something critical, in such cases, being in a trade deficit won't be bad. But Trump thinks that America's trade deficit is detrimental. And to get out of this trade deficit, he claims to have imposed these tariffs. And to impose these tariffs, he went as far as to use the emergency powers. I am not kidding. He declared being in a trade deficit to be a national emergency.
They're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life.
Experts say that misusing the Emergency Act like this isn't right in a democracy. But come, let's take a closer look at the tariffs imposed by Trump. Donald Trump stood there with a big board that had the tariffs for different countries. Every foreign good imported into America got at least a 10% tariff. This 10% tariff has also been imposed on those countries with whom America isn't even in a trade deficit. Trump even used the excuse that because some countries impose tariffs on goods exported by America, the tariffs imposed by Trump should actually be considered reciprocal tariffs.
Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them.
Look at the list here. 49% on Cambodia, 46% on Vietnam, a 20% tariff on the European Union, 32% on Taiwan, 25% on South Korea, 26% on India, and 17% on Israel. After the tit-for-tat game with China, the final tariffs on China have reached 125%. On the other hand, China retaliated with a 125% tariff on America. It's interesting to see how these exact numbers were calculated. A simple formula was used here. They took the trade deficit of any country with America and divided it by the imports coming from that country, and half of the resulting percentage became the new tariff to be imposed on that country by Trump.
And because we are being very kind, we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us.
For example, America has a trade deficit of $295 billion with China, and the American goods imported by China are worth $439.9 billion. According to the formula, the percentage here is 67%. The trade deficit between the two countries is 67%. But here, Trump said something stupid. Trump said that this 67% is the rate of tariff which China imposes on American goods. Not true at all. He claimed this was the Chinese tariff and imposed a tariff of half of it at 34%. They did this to every country. I don't understand how no one around Trump noticed this. This formula can be understood by primary school kids too. But no. Trump crossed all the limits of stupidity when he imposed tariffs on some uninhabited islands near Antarctica. Heard Island and McDonald Island are some islands near Antarctica. No humans live there. No human has even gone there in the last 10 years. There are only penguins on that island. But now Trump imposed a 10% tariff on these islands as well. No, seriously, these islands are so isolated that you'd need to take a 2-week-long boat journey from Australia, and no human has undertaken this journey in the last 10 years. America is a huge consumer market. Small and big businesses all over the world depend on selling their products to American consumers. That's why many countries imposed retaliatory tariffs to fight against America. China, the European Union, and Canada deliberately targeted those places in retaliation from where Trump gets the most votes in America. China targeted corn farmers and car makers. Canada imposed tariffs on poultry farms and AC manufacturers. Europe imposed tariffs on steel mills and slaughterhouses. These are the sectors that have the most number of people who support and vote for Trump. Their logic is simple. If they want to make a real impact, they need to affect those people who voted for this stupid politician.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Actually, imposing such tariffs on so many countries all of a sudden without talking to them will definitely cause harm, and both sides will suffer. The country from where you import goods, the businesses of that country would be affected, people will buy fewer goods. But in your own country, when foreign goods get expensive, and not just a few things, but when almost everything gets more expensive, the brunt of it all will be borne by the common man's pockets. Trump's tariffs would affect Americans the worst. Because today, we live in a globalized world. The goods sold in America, in most cases, they are either made abroad entirely, or their small components, raw materials, or ingredients are imported from abroad. Take Mr. Beast's example and the chocolates he sells. He tweeted that although it is made in America, the cacao beans used in the chocolate are imported, mostly from African countries. With the increase in tariffs, it'd be more expensive to import the raw materials, and it will make the chocolates more expensive. That's why he tweeted that after these tariffs, it would actually be cheaper to make these chocolates outside the US. Since the Second World War, America has always encouraged free trade. It has always told other countries to keep their tariffs as low as possible. The lower the tariffs, the more international trade there will be. And every country stands to benefit from this. Based on this philosophy, the WTO, or the World Trade Organization, was formed. It became a platform for negotiation for the whole world. Even now, if you go to the WTO's Wikipedia page, you will see a purpose section. Let's read that. Reduction of tariffs and other barriers to trade. The WTO was formed with the aim to reduce tariffs all over the world. In the establishment and promotion of this international organization, America played a leading role. But now, after Donald Trump's presidency, everything has turned upside down. Other countries aren't sure how much they can trust America. What does America actually believe in? The Prime Minister of Singapore gave an interesting statement about this. Listen to this.
Singapore will take a bigger hit than others because of our heavy reliance on trade. The last time the world experienced something like this was in the 1930s. Trade wars escalated into armed conflict and eventually the Second World War. No one can say how the current situation will unfold in the coming months or years. But we must be clear-eyed about the dangers that are building up in the world. Global institutions are getting weaker. International norms are eroding. More and more countries will act based on narrow self-interest and use force or pressure to get their way. This is the harsh reality of our world today.
It's getting more and more difficult to predict what will happen next. The global economy is going through quite an unpredictable time, and Donald Trump's behavior is responsible for this unpredictability. On the night of the 9th of April, the news broke that Trump has paused tariffs on all countries for 90 days and has reduced them to only 10%. Except for China. Tariffs on China have been increased further.
I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate. That's what I did with China, because they did retaliate.
The rates of tariffs are fluctuating each day, and people are confused. What is Trump trying to do? Friends, what do you think? Comment below to let me know. Perhaps even Trump won't know the right answer to this. Because perhaps he doesn't know what he wants to do. Some people have made accusations of stock market manipulation too. When he suddenly imposed tariffs, the stock market fell. But the day the tariffs were removed that morning before the tariffs were lifted, he tweeted this: "This is a great time to buy." He knew that as soon as the tariffs would be lifted, the stock market would go up again. Here, this post was meant to tell his followers, go and buy stocks. As soon as he announced the pause of the tariffs, the stock market suddenly shot up. This is a straightforward and clear proof of stock market manipulation. But the question arises, who will dare to investigate the American president? And even after investigating, the question is there a judge in America who will dare to pass a judgment against Donald Trump? Another theory here is that Donald Trump took this huge U-turn because he hadn't expected the world to react this way towards his tariffs. If so, this shows his incompetencies. And if not, some allege that this was Trump's actual plan, that he was playing 4D chess by first imposing such high tariffs globally, and then take them back, but let the ones on China remain. A plan to trap China. This too shows Trump's short-sightedness. Imposing and removing tariffs like this on such a large scale is not a game. This affects millions of small and big businesses all over the world. Millions of businesses who cannot price their goods properly because they don't know what will be the tariffs in future and how would these taxes affect their profits. Will they remain profitable or not? It's the same as trying to kill a cockroach in your home by setting fire to the house. Friends, I hope this was an informative video for you. Thank you very much.